From its inception in 1996 to the present day, MSNBC has left an indelible mark on the American news media. Join us as we delve into its transformation and adaptation in response to the ever-changing media environment. In 1996, MSNBC emerged as a pioneering joint venture between Microsoft and NBC News, revolutionizing news coverage by seamlessly merging television and the internet. Bill Gates, co-founder of Microsoft, played a pivotal role in this collaboration, recognizing the potential of combining Microsoft's technological prowess with NBC's broadcasting expertise. Gates likely saw MSNBC as an opportunity to expand Microsoft's reach into the media landscape, establishing a solid online presence. On the NBC side, Tom Rogers, then president of NBC Cable and Business Development, played a crucial role in negotiating and finalizing the deal. Facing the challenges of the digital age, NBC sought a strategic partner to navigate the evolving media landscape, and Microsoft provided the technological know-how to do so. Andy Lack, the head of NBC News, helped shape MSNBC's news content to give viewers a different, left-leaning choice in news. The goal behind this partnership was to combine TV and the internet, tackle the challenges of the digital age, and provide a unique viewpoint in the news world. The collaboration between Microsoft and NBC marked a groundbreaking move when the media industry was undergoing significant transformations. Two shows, in particular, emerged as the cornerstones of MSNBC's programming during this period: The News with Brian Williams and Hardball with Chris Matthews. These programs helped define the network's identity and became trusted news sources for a broad audience. Brian Williams, a veteran TV journalist, has had a successful journalism and television news career. Throughout his career, he has received numerous accolades and awards for his work. Williams has received recognition for a dozen Emmy Awards, 11 Edward R. Murrow Awards, the DuPont Columbia Award, the Walter Cronkite Award for Excellence in Journalism, and the George Foster Peabody Award. Williams began his career as a correspondent for NBC Nightly News in 1993. He later became the anchor and managing editor of the broadcast in 2004. However, in 2015, he was suspended by NBC News for 6 months due to misrepresenting events during his coverage of the Iraq War in 2003. Following the incident, he was permanently removed from NBC Nightly News and reassigned as the breaking news anchor for MSNBC.
I want to apologize. I said I was traveling in an aircraft that was hit by RPG fire. I was instead in a following aircraft. This was a bungled attempt by me to thank one special veteran.
In September 2016, Williams became the host of MSNBC's political news show, The 11th Hour. During his time at MSNBC, he has anchored over 300 hours of live, breaking news coverage, including the 2016 presidential campaign and events worldwide. Williams has also been awarded the Walter Cronkite Award for Excellence in Journalism by Arizona State University. Time magazine has named him one of the 100 most influential people in the world. Additionally, he has received 4 DuPont Columbia University Awards and 7 honorary degrees. Although the network is generally associated with liberal viewpoints, the early 2000s saw a brief conservative phase, particularly during the Iraq War. This period, marred with heightened patriotic sentiments, caused many Americans to believe that the U.S. invasion of Iraq was tied to alleged nuclear weapons and supposed involvement in 9/11. MSNBC, recognizing the prevailing patriotic sentiment, introduced America's Bravest, a tribute to U.S. soldiers deployed to Iraq featuring photos contributed by their families. Additionally, MSNBC parted ways with Phil Donahue, a vocal critic of President Bush's Iraq policy, and replaced him with Lester Holt's Countdown Iraq. Meanwhile, Hardball with Chris Matthews was a flagship program for MSNBC, known for its rigorous political analysis and candid interviews. Chris Matthews hosted the show and gave viewers deep insights into the political world. However, controversy arose in October 2007 when Matthews alleged off-air that the Bush administration, particularly Vice President Cheney's office, had tried to silence his criticism of the Iraq War, pressuring MSNBC executives. The White House remained silent on the matter.
Does anybody believe that? I still believe it. The central question here that should have been asked and answered before we went to war with Iraq, and it never was, will this make their terrorism less of a threat than it was before?
Nevertheless, a 2006 Pew Research study discovered a stark political divide in the perceived credibility of news sources, mainly focusing on the Fox News channel. Among Republicans, Fox News was highly regarded, with 32% of Republicans considering it highly credible, surpassing its competitors CNN, 22%, and MSNBC, 18%. On the other hand, Democrats held a more skeptical view of Fox News, with only 22% believing its content. In contrast, they perceived CNN, 32%, and MSNBC, 25%, as better and more credible news sources. Around 2007, MSNBC underwent a notable transformation in its programming. It began embracing a more centrist approach, striving for a balance in its coverage. Personalities like Joe Scarborough and Rachel Maddow also gained prominence for their enthusiastic and opinionated commentary.
With Trump, it's like a big team of losers, people who the American people explicitly do not want, people who just had the opportunity to be voted into office by the American people, and the American people said definitively, no, don't want you. And so Trump is saying, well, that's who you're getting, and you'll like it.
Programs like Morning Joe, first aired in 2007, and The Rachel Maddow Show, first aired in 2008, became influential platforms for moderately liberal to progressive viewpoints. Moving forward, during the Obama administration, MSNBC provided a significant platform for progressive voices, closely aligning with many of President Obama's policies, both before and after his 2008 campaign run. Citing the Pew Research Center once more, MSNBC stood out for having less negative coverage of Obama than the press generally, 14% of stories versus 29% in the press overall, and for having more negative stories about McCain, 73% of its coverage versus 57% in the press overall. Another example of MSNBC's supportive reporting was its response to Obamacare. The outlet consistently highlighted the positive aspects of the healthcare reform law, such as increased access to coverage for millions of Americans and protections for individuals with pre-existing conditions. Nonetheless, despite these positive aspects, one concern MSNBC highlighted was the occasional glitchiness of the 51 electronic marketplaces established under the Affordable Care Act, ACA. According to MSNBC, the launch of 51 electronic marketplaces was bound to be glitchy, but consumers have spent days, if not weeks, stranded on websites that won't let them create usernames and passwords, let alone process applications and calculate available subsidies. The network also reported other issues, like how the ACA couldn't attract enough healthy people to balance the expenses and coverage for sick individuals. Consequently, prices increased, and individuals started withdrawing from the insurance markets. This situation resulted in elevated premiums and other challenges, particularly in regions with limited insurance options. Many experienced a scarcity of insurers as they began pulling out of numerous states, with only one insurer operating in Phoenix, Arizona, and 2 in North Carolina in October 2016. While acknowledging these drawbacks, the network had far more praise for Obama's healthcare policies than criticism.
So it has slowed the growth of healthcare costs and made it more affordable. They say that over 80% of Obamacare consumers approve of the care that they have.
MSNBC also greatly illuminated the Obama administration's foreign policy accomplishments. This support was evident in their coverage of diplomatic endeavors, such as the Iran nuclear deal, and efforts to smooth over relations with Cuba. Conversely, MSNBC has also gone after Obama for his consistent use of drone warfare in the Middle East. One article from them cites a study that conflicts with the president's talking point of drones being more precise than conventional weaponry. The analysis from the Center for Naval Analyses offered a contradictory conclusion, which found that civilians are 10 times more likely to be killed by drones than by other means. These examples reveal a discernible pattern. MSNBC consistently praised Obama for his successful foreign policy endeavors focused on peace. However, the network adopted a more critical stance when discussing offensive and militaristic choices, such as the utilization of drone warfare and the president's domestically and globally unpopular decision to intervene in the Syrian civil war. However, even though MSNBC has made critiques of the Obama administration where they were due, flagship programs like The Rachel Maddow Show, Hardball with Chris Matthews, and All In with Chris Hayes frequently featured discussions that aligned with the Democratic agenda.
We've gotten a fuller look at Donald Trump's foreign policy vision, and I have to say, it is worse and more dangerous than I think I even expected. He hates our allies. He's trying to pick a fight with Canada and seems to love our enemies because our enemies see the world as he does. Transactional, ripe for the picking.
Maddow frequently criticized conservative policies, such as the Republican-led efforts to repeal the Affordable Care Act, ACA, during the Obama administration. Maddow would highlight the potential negative consequences of such actions and advocate for the importance of the ACA in expanding healthcare coverage. Chris Hayes frequently discussed topics aligned with the Democratic agenda, such as income inequality, climate change, and social justice issues. Chris Matthews occasionally criticized both Democrats and Republicans, and he often expressed support for Democratic positions. For example, like many other MSNBC contributors, Matthews was also highly in favor of Obama's efforts to pass the Affordable Care Act, emphasizing its potential benefits and addressing criticisms from conservatives. Moreover, in 2010, MSNBC achieved a significant milestone by surpassing CNN in primetime total viewers for the first time, relegating CNN to the third position in cable news. For the second consecutive year, MSNBC outperformed CNN in the advertiser-friendly 25 to 54-year-old demographic. Countdown with Keith Olbermann ranked as MSNBC's top-performing show. Nonetheless, it experienced a decline in total viewers compared to the previous year. On top of this, MSNBC's newest show, The Last Word with Lawrence O'Donnell, surpassed The Rachel Maddow Show in younger viewership. Overall, MSNBC secured the second position in total day viewership, beating CNN for the first time among 25 to 54-year-old viewers. While MSNBC's coverage of the Obama administration was generally supportive, it also featured debates and discussions within the progressive spectrum. Some guests, like Bernie Sanders, went on to Chris Hayes' show to push for more progressive policies, criticizing the neo-corporate wing of the Democratic Party for not going far enough on issues like healthcare reform and climate change.
Politically, it is an embarrassment to me that we have a major political party called the Republican Party, which, with few exceptions, refuses to even recognize the reality of climate change, let alone is prepared to do anything about it.
Turning now to 2016, the presidential election of that year marked a significant turning point in MSNBC's coverage. With the election of Donald Trump, the network became a vocal critic of his administration, and some programs adopted a more assertive tone. Although it still trailed Fox News in viewership, MSNBC saw a significant boost in ratings as the election season drew closer, falling behind CNN at about 1,113,000 primetime viewers. The number of people tuning into the network was an 87% increase from the previous year, when MSNBC only accumulated 596,000 viewers for all of 2015. Later, hosts like Chris Hayes and Joy Reid routinely evaluated and questioned the Trump administration's interests and agendas. Their comprehensive analyses of the MAGA Republicans turned MSNBC into a go-to place for viewers who wanted a critical view of the changing political scene. As for other examples of partisanship, during the 2016 and 2020 Democratic primaries, MSNBC faced criticism for its coverage of Bernie Sanders. Some Sanders supporters accused the network of biased reporting and favoritism toward other candidates, notably Hillary Clinton in 2016 and Joe Biden in 2020. This controversy sparked debates about the media's influence on the democratic process. Also, MSNBC's extensive coverage of the Russia investigation and allegations of collusion between the Trump campaign drew significant attention. Some critics argued that the network's coverage was excessively focused on the investigation, potentially leading to an imbalance in reporting other vital issues. According to The Guardian, the Mueller investigation was covered more on MSNBC than any other television network and was mentioned virtually every day in 2018. In analyzing the media bias issues in MSNBC's coverage of the Trump-Russia investigation, it is essential to consider the ethical implications of their headlines and narratives. One noteworthy example is the headline, "Walls Closing In on Trump," which was widely used by MSNBC, CNN, and Yahoo News in 2018. This headline and similar narratives created a specific subset of news and commentary that overinflated the progress of the Mueller investigation in its vigorous search for collusion.
What does he not understand about good guys and bad guys? I'm sorry. How about that for an offer? Russia helping to get to the bottom of campaign collusion. Collusion with Russia. Under Putin's grand scheme, Robert Mueller's team, the good guys, would be allowed to observe Russians, the bad guys, questioning the 12 intelligence officers indicted by the good guys on Friday. Go figure.
On the other hand, despite their extensive coverage of the Trump presidency, The Washington Post, New York Times, and New Yorker did not adopt the walls closing in approach. It is important to note that even if the Mueller investigation did find collusion between Trump and Russia, the headline choice would still be incredibly biased. Ethical considerations should guide editorial decisions, and writers should deliberate headlines and narratives using an ethical framework to avoid constructed narratives that run ahead of the truth. Amidst the turbulent political landscape of the 2020s, MSNBC's coverage has provided viewers with an in-depth understanding of the legal challenges faced by former President Trump. It has shed light on the intricacies of ongoing investigations, court proceedings, and their potential implications for Trump's political future. As for ratings, the Pew Research Center found that MSNBC's ratings for its prime news slot consistently grew from 2016 to 2018, reaching a peak in 2020, likely influenced by significant events like the COVID-19 pandemic and the US presidential election. However, a significant decline occurred in 2021 and continued into 2022, with ratings dropping to 827,182 average primetime viewers. As the chart states, these numbers represent the live prime news viewership of CNN, Fox News, and MSNBC for the entire year. Regardless, MSNBC has played a significant role in analyzing the legal issues surrounding former President Trump as the Biden administration has taken charge. These issues have encompassed investigations into alleged financial improprieties, allegations of obstruction of justice, and the repercussions of the events of January 6, 2021. Think about MSNBC's journey from starting in 1996 up to where it is today. It shows how media can be a wild ride, and how cable news has changed how we talk about significant issues. Love it or hate it, MSNBC has made a big splash in the American media scene, adding to the mix of voices out there in the news world.